The opinions, views, and conclusions expressed in this show are those of the show host and co-host and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of KPFV FM or its affiliates.
Welcome to all of our listeners tuning in on 98.1 FM KPFV Freedom Radio. To those watching us on the station's YouTube channel, that is 98.1 FM Freedom Radio. You're listening to the Uncomfortable Truth 7 Amendment Hour segment. Now, you can check us out on our BitChute channel, The Uncomfortable Truth, all one word, and still in the process, we'll soon be having our Tumblr account and our Safe Chat account set up as well. And you can also find us on the censored almighty YouTube. But today, if this is your first time tuning in, now my co-host Glenn and I, we have been covering the U.S. Bill of Rights. So we've been covering each amendment separately, and then we've been breaking each of them down with the Supreme Court cases correlating and affirming each amendment. Okay, so today we're just going to be moving right along, but a little different. We're going to tie two of them together for a double whammy because, well, you'll see. With one of them, it's incredibly straightforward. It actually has never been questioned before. But first, we do want to let everyone know that we have a upcoming event right here at Petrick Park in Pahrump. That is going to be the second annual Faith and Blue Initiative. So we will have a booth. We'll actually have 2 tables set up out there. We openly welcome anyone who will be attending. It is from, I believe, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's Saturday, October 9th at Petrick Park. There's going to be food and booths, so it's very welcoming. Bring out the family, have a good time. Stop by and visit us. We'll have both of our tables, and Glenn and I actually will both be there. So we're really excited to hopefully meet some of our listeners and our viewers, too.
It will be a lot of fun.
It will be fun. The last time was a good time.
It was a great time.
We enjoyed that. So we're just going to dive right in today. Just straightforward as before. If you've missed our previous segments here, you can find us on that YouTube channel that I listed before as well, okay? So don't go looking for it right now. Just go ahead and stay tuned in because we're going to jump right in, like before, with reading the Third Amendment. And then we're going to correlate and read any of the Supreme Court cases that have had issues with that or been brought up against it. So the Third Amendment states, word for word, no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So, I'll be straight with you guys. I literally actually had to ask Glenn. I know it's kind of embarrassing, but I had to ask Glenn, like, what? Hold on. I'm just going to read it one more time because it just seems like, imagine that happening. Everything else is like, I can kind of imagine the necessity for that, right? Like you think back in times of war and fighting and revolution and civil war and stuff. And mind you, my public education was quite lacking.
Public.
Not hint, but
yeah.
Public education was quite lacking. So I had to ask you what this meant. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. When does this happen?
So the reason why this is here, and let's be honest, the reason why all of the 10 amendments to the Constitution are here in the Bill of Rights is because our forefathers experienced tyranny.
For themselves.
They experienced being forced to quarter the enemy in your home. They experienced the government trying to come and take their weapons so that they couldn't defend themselves. They experienced the government restricting their freedom of speech. They experienced them not being able to have a jury and a trial. They were guilty until proven innocent.
They lived this day to day.
They lived this day to day. And this is what caused about the revolution that we took place where they declared their independence from the King of England. So,
wouldn't understand this. I never had to live day to day under strict tyranny like this.
Exactly.
Pretty dang free.
And so that's why it's here. It's so that basically it says you cannot do this, period. We don't want to talk about it. So interestingly enough, there is cases where the Supreme Court has mentioned the Third Amendment, but there has never been a case that has actually been decided solely upon the Third Amendment by the U.S. Supreme Court because the lower courts ruled appropriately. I know that's a miracle. And so they've not had to hear any cases on it.
So that's why I couldn't find anything. Y'all, I literally tried to research multiple times. Like I kept looking up everything I could, different wordings to search. I couldn't find any direct Supreme Court cases directly challenging this.
She calls me up and says, I can't find anything. And I'm like, because there actually isn't one.
I was like, maybe my research skills are lacking. And I don't know.
You have a few, circuit courts,
but they reference. But they don't actually challenge it.
They don't actually
challenge it. They just refer to it as such as in this manner.
Yes.
So you get references to it, but no actual cases.
So if you think about it, you have so when we look at all these Supreme Court cases, especially the Second Amendment, especially the First Amendment, especially when we get into Fifth Amendment, you have cases after cases after cases because your so-called leaders have written laws in direct violation of the Constitution, but for some reason, they seem to be able to get this one right.
They literally got it, like point blank done.
The question is, if you guys can get this one right, what the hell happened to the rest of them?
What's the issue?
Well, the issue is it doesn't fit their narrative.
That is very, very true.
That's basically what it boils down
to.
They're going to keep pushing and keep pushing. So one of the things that people talk about is that the legislatures are trying to use the courts to legislate. So they keep passing these draconian laws and push it through the system, hoping that each time they get to the Supreme Court, they may change their mind. That doesn't happen very often.
Well, that was just with last week's episode.
Yeah.
You have continued challenges the week before that. Continued challenges, especially whenever you have it literally written verbatim, word for word, shall not be infringed.
And get this.
Plain language.
I keep hearing from the gun control advocates. We keep hearing from the politicians who say that we're going to get rid of the Second Amendment. We're going to get rid of the Second Amendment. First of all, look at the wording. Shall not be infringed. The minute you try to make an amendment to infringe the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. It's not going anywhere. The minute you try to infringe upon it, you are already violating it. So give up. Stop playing this game. Let's move on.
But especially, though, after this morning, it's gonna come up again.
Well, we know
just after this morning's incidences in Texas.
We know.
They have more fuel for the fire, for the challenge. And so this will come up again. And another reason why we were so adamant about doing this show and taking this opportunity. We want you all to listen and understand your rights. This is plain language. I am reading to you literally word for word what it says. And I'm making sure that every episode when we come to y'all that I'm fresh-minded. What research I'm doing on this, I am bringing a blank slate. And I'm showing you all that even someone like me who is incredibly proud of my country and accept current issues, but I have pride in what we stand for. I have pride in our Constitution. And I want to make sure that I know these things, just like all of you should as well. These are very important things to be informed on, and we need to be aware because as we've seen, as in last week's episodes, they will turn things and twist things to manipulate and disintegrate our rights. This challenge will be coming again, especially after this morning's events.
Of course.
Now, it's
going to come again, and it's going to come again, and it's going to come again.
It's the trend.
I'm hoping that the new Supreme Court decision that they're going to rule on will finally, and maybe, we can always be hopeful. We'll put an end to this. So the Third Amendment, we have proof that our politicians and we have proof that our leaders know what it means, know what it says, and have never really taken it up where it has to go to the Supreme Court for a decision. So
have never infringed on it, apparently,
not
to where
really.
they've had to be
Yeah.
challenged in the courts.
They've skirted it on the edges a few times, and the lower courts just
Mhm.
immediately slapped it down.
And
But
yes, that's what I wanted to mention too. You said that earlier. It literally, it doesn't, there's no confusion. It's
Mhm.
slapped down at such a lower court.
Yes.
Done.
End of discussion. There's
Mhm.
no wiggle room. The court doesn't make a ruling. Oh yeah, sure, the government can do that. No. So they understand the wording within the Constitution. They prove it by upholding the Third Amendment. So what about the other 9? What about the rest of the Constitution? They know what they're doing. This is all done by design. This is all done on purpose. If you think, well, it's a mistake, no, because they have proof. You have proof. They know what the Third Amendment is. That means they know what the other ones are as well.
Yes, they're very, very aware. Now, I did make a note here because I just thought this was kind of ironic.
Yeah.
I like counting things just out of curiosity. So I had made a note here. Whenever you're reading the Third Amendment, it ends up being 30 words. That one sentence is just a solid 30 words.
30 words.
When you read the Second Amendment, it's 27 words.
Yeah.
So it's shorter, but it's been challenged so many times all the way to the Supreme Court. I just kind of thought it was really ironic, and it brought back full circle here what we had said, that those last like 3 words, not be infringed.
You have to add the shall.
What is so, yeah.
You have to add the shall.
Let's make it 4. Shall not be infringed. The part that's plain English, telling everyone, if you agree to the Constitution, then you agree that this shall not be infringed. Yet that's the one that's challenged the most.
It's amazing.
It's just very ironic. I'm sorry, that was a little side note. Just very ironic there.
So we have no Supreme Court case to decide the Third Amendment because the government behaves themselves. So there you go. They know how to do it.
Bring you on it. So that's why this is a double whammy. And we're going to go ahead and cover the Fourth Amendment as well, because we want you to have something. How much it is entertaining to listen to us banter, we need to have something to actually discuss.
And it's just amazing because they keep trying to overturn the Second Amendment. They keep trying to figure out a way to remove the Second Amendment.
Continuously.
The Supreme Court, the amendments don't get changed very often. The most recent one we can think of would be the, what is it? The 18th.
Yes, the 21st Amendment repealing the 18th.
Yeah. So that was the last time that we had something like this happen. And if everybody knows what that was prohibition. And then it was reversed, basically.
I did have to ask you, what was I just the other day? Was there any amendment that was ever repealed or overturned? And you just kind of gave me a look like,
Really?
Prohibition. I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. They were stupid enough at one time to do that. It's just, to me, so asinine whenever you think back to it. It's that really was legit. They really
that was an attempt to be a tyrannical government, I guess, is all you could say.
It is our history. And that is also why it is so important to make sure that we know our history. This will repeat itself if you do not know it, if you are not aware. So let's jump in. We're going to jump in here to the Fourth Amendment. Right here, word for word. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So because that was a longer one, I do want to go ahead and just reread it one more time, okay? The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall be issued, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Let that kind of soak in, okay, for just a second, because I know that was a lot. So, Now, as before, I've researched the Supreme Court cases. I came to you with a list of what I had found, and
So
I have a lot of scratches on here because it was kind of adorable because you brought up like, oh, Amanda.
Well, why don't you name off some of your cases, because some of these cases people might be familiar with if they ever bother to read them, and so go ahead and read some of those cases. Just read the names off.
A couple of these I did know. So there was Stop and Frisk Terry versus Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is the Miranda
Mm-hmm.
case as well. So those are just a couple of just the ones just off the top of everybody's head.
Everybody knows what your Miranda rights are. When they police are going to take you into custody, they read you your rights. That's the Miranda rights. Where did that come from? It came from a case.
And they tell you, do you understand the rights as I have read them to you?
They have to get an affirmative. They have to get an affirmative response from you.
Mm-hmm.
So we all understand that.
Those are known ones.
We're not going to go beat a dead horse on that, because we should already know these things.
But you got.
But we have two cases that came this year. We actually have two cases that were decided, specifically talking about the Fourth Amendment, that were decided in 2021. One of them was just a few months ago.
Just a couple months ago. This was just. I thought this was so cool. It's like, oh, we have something current.
We have something
not
current,
just 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. No,
we have
now.
Spanking now. That is relevant.
Right now.
Relevant to what's happening in our world today.
And we have one. I thought the one down here, the Florida versus Jarvis. This is the last one we're going to just hint on at the end. Mm-hmm. It's still actually not finished in the decision. The final opinion is not actually finished yet. Till
published.
What was that? It was going to end up being like March, I thought, or February or something like that.
February, March, I think is what they were saying. Or
so
their final decision.
Coming.
So we still have another one that's going to be coming, and it'll be brand new 2022. Yeah.
Ooh. Something to look forward to, a little late Christmas present there. So let's jump in here.
Something to keep an eye on.
Yes.
Maybe once the decision comes out, we'll probably do something on it.
Well, isn't that interesting? Hey, would you have thought when we first started this that we would have had cases?
Don't get blindsided by the tide of history. And join Ed Ledesma and me, Mike Runyon, every Tuesday at 6 on KPFE 98.1 for the watchers, and go forward with your eyes wide open.
I'm going to do the Torahs versus Madrid.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Torahs versus Madrid. Now, something to keep in mind. So this decision is literally not even a full 3 pages. And anybody who understands anything about the law, there's a whole lot of fluff and verbiage and whatnot. And so the reality is this is only about maybe a page and a half of actual importance.
Whereas the other one was, 168?
So the Second Amendment, the court has to do a 168-page opinion because
oh my word,
our so-called leaders and politicians can't seem to understand basic English and the law. And so they have to give you a 168 opinion to say, you need to cut this crap out and explain that it covers everything, including lasers in the future, okay? This case is literally 2.5 pages. 2.5 pages, and the court summarized this case. So what this case is about is a lady was at her car. Law enforcement was going to execute a warrant. It appears they didn't really identify themselves properly. She thought she was being carjacked. She jumped in her car to speed away, to get away from the threat. They shot at her while she was getting in her car.
Oh, they shot at her.
They shot at her and hit her and struck her. And so the police were trying to use, immunity, et cetera, et cetera. And here's what the court said about this, okay? And this is very important. The officer's contrary test would limit seizure of a person to an intentional acquisition of physical control. While the test properly describes seizure by control, seizures by force enjoy a separate common law pedigree that gives rise to a separate rule. What the court ruling in this thing is, the officer seized Torahs by shooting her with the intent to restrain her movement. The court does not address the reasonableness of the seizure, the damages caused by the seizure, or the officer's entitlement to qualified immunity. It's very simple. By shooting her, you seize control of her.
But they shot at her as a form of deterring her escape.
But it's considered seizure.
That is, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. No, unacceptable.
So the good
Was
thing,
she a threat? Was she a life threat?
we don't even know what the warrant was about. So,
okay.
See here, understand something that when you read cases,
Lord.
they give you a brief summary of the facts. The Supreme Court is never making ruling on facts. Facts have been decided at lower court levels.
Yes.
If you ever go to court, whether it's a civil thing or a criminal thing or what, all the facts are decided at the lower level. You need to make sure that all facts are at the lower level so that later on it can be used for an appeal and things of that nature. So they're not necessarily reviewing all the facts per se. They're just doing the core thing. Police were trying to serve a warrant. She wasn't quite sure who they were. She tried to escape. They shot at her vehicle. They struck her. According to the court, that's considered seizure. It has nothing to do. They don't want to hear any other issue. You were seizing that person under the Fourth Amendment. Did you have a right to do so?
Did you have the warrant? Did you have due process? Did you have the evidence?
No.
So
that's a pretty simple. Just a few pages.
Literally
we had talked last week about postcard decisions.
Yeah, you had mentioned that in a little side comment when we were going over some of my research.
So,
I'm like, what is a postcard decision?
Postcard decision. So
what is that?
There was one that just happened I think it was Monday. So
wait. Monday?
Monday. Just like 2 days ago, Monday.
They're coming out.
So all you patriots who want to see the wall built, who want to see our border secure, like every other country in the world, basically the bottom line is there was a court in California that came out and they ruled against the wall and allowed the Biden administration to do something with the monies and all that. So they started diverting. So the Supreme Court, in seeing this case and seeing the ruling, sent a message called a postcard. In the legal community, they call it a postcard. Down to the Ninth Circuit and said, you need to go talk to your judge.
Oh.
Your ruling, you need to rethink your ruling.
Wow. So that's literally like corporate high-up boss going ahead and sending you a memo saying, get this fixed, don't make me come do it.
Basically.
Pretty much, right?
That's basically what it was. The Supreme Court says, you're in error of your ruling. You need to think twice. And so basically, like you said, the CEO, which is the Supreme Court, sent it down to the manager, which is the Ninth Circuit, and says, you need to go talk to your judge.
Wow.
So there was one that just happened a few days ago, and myself as somebody who supports the wall being built, that's great. To me, that's great because the court's already saying, if you don't change your decisions, we're going to talk about it, which I could see this case being one of those ones where the Supreme Court just reaches and snatches it up and doesn't let anybody else hear it.
And just grabs it. Mm-hmm. I honestly kind of hope so a little bit. Just clear it, get it done.
Yeah. So there's
done,
actually another case today. I didn't get a chance to research it. There was another postcard opinion. The Supreme Court sent something down to a lower court and said you might want to rethink something. But I didn't get a chance to do any research on it today. It just happened today.
Is that a little nugget for next week?
Yeah, we have to talk about it next week.
Okay.
So they do. The Supreme Court is in session. I don't know if anybody had heard, but they just went back into session. So I know the media has talked about Roe versus Wade. So there is an abortion case pending. There is a Second Amendment. We talked about it last week. There's a Second Amendment case pending. And there's a couple other cases pending.
Out of curiosity, is the abortion one going to be in regards to what Texas has done recently?
No.
It's going to be a different
case.
Side one. Because I thought that they had said that they're not touching that issue.
They're not touching. They sent a postcard. We're not going to hear it.
Okay. That was a postcard decision as well. Okay.
Well, not a postcard decision. It's a postcard saying we're not going to hear the case.
Oh, okay.
They're just saying we're not going to hear the case.
Don't waste the taxpayers' money on trying to put it up to us.
So I think this case, from what I understand, it's been pending for about over a year. So it's been
it's been waiting on the dockets.
So we'll see what happens.
Out of curiosity, I mean, we have time to kill. Out of curiosity, how long sometimes does a typical case sit on their docket or their schedule?
I mean, it depends. It depends on how quickly the court wants to do it, especially if it's something that's pretty simple and pretty easy. They'll make a ruling pretty quick. It just depends.
Is there a history of public opinion having sway on how quickly they tackle it or address it? Are there certain cases that you know in the history that? really made them jump on it.
There have been cases where, because of time, we all are slaves to time, if you want to say it. Time's going to keep ticking, and if something is very critical, it's infringement upon someone's rights, and it may result in harm and things like that. People can send up motions, send up documents to the Supreme Court. Time is of the essence. This needs to be handled. The Torahs case went from November of last year to
wasn't it June, March or June?
Let me see. This case was October of last year, and it was decided in March of this year.
Okay, so March of 2020, October of 2020, March of 2021. Wow.
So this is a pretty quick case.
So, okay, wow.
So it does happen. It just depends. And some of these cases, they can drag out longer. There's no threat to life, and may not be as critical.
Kind of like a triage list almost.
Basically.
Okay. I had wondered that, and I had meant to ask you the other night, and I was like, since we got time to
and then of course, on top of that, I mean, you have other things like, are there going to be, how many motions are going to be filed, how many matters of law we're going to have to decide, how detailed this goes backwards, 168-page decision, 3-page decision.
Good point.
So,
very good
so
point.
A lot of times and then you have like the New York case where this court said,
the New York Rifle Association.
Yeah, they said, we're going to hear this case anyway because New York decided to play a game and change the law.
Well, they tried. Yeah,
they tried
to do a little side curve there and sneak around it
to try to get the Supreme Court to drop it. I am eager for
this one because that is actually going to be another one that we will be having to revisit and doing an update on those cases.
I'm certainly hoping the court finally comes out and once and for all says, we don't understand what part of English you don't understand, so we're going to explain it to you.
I don't know how they couldn't come out with the straightforward one, but time has shown that some of them that they have to continuously repeat. It's just constantly.
And remember, the Supreme Court is the Supreme Court of the land. When they make a ruling, it's for everybody.
The whole nation.
Okay.
Every state.
So if Ninth Circuit makes a ruling, it's certain states. And if the First Circuit makes a ruling, it's certain states. And if the Third Circuit makes a ruling, but this is everybody.
This is everyone. This is blanket law.
Okay. So,
we do want to make sure that I want to make sure that everyone is aware. So when we go through and whenever I do my research, a lot of the stuff that we know, you've been researching, as we've stated in the first episode with your credentials, your whole life. I mean, for the most part, the vast majority of it. Now, when we tell you to go do your own research, we mean for you to go read the actual Supreme Court cases. We're not using Wikipedia or fact checkers no. I'm sitting there sometimes for hours on end, folding baby clothes and reading this legal jargon and then calling you after sitting there trying to define and Google all these words and research the words. What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? Because it is lengthy. It is lengthy. We're only trying to help you and give you just a little synapse here of what's going on. But we really, really do encourage you all to go research it. Go look up the cases. Go get yourself a Pacer account. That was pacer.uscourts.gov. That's a free account that you can set up. Pacer.uscourts.gov. And you can go through and look up cases that are on the dockets currently, things like that, and you can see these things, But everything else is on government archive sites, so you can see them and read them freely.
It's very important that you go and you download the PDF from the Supreme Court and you read it. Reading analysis, and I will tell you right now, Wikipedia, forget it. It's not even remotely accurate.
But it was the law professors that confused me because I thought I had that first case. I thought I was actually reading the actual case. And you had to tell me, no,
that's somebody's assessment. And here's the thing. If you go read the assessments on the very first episode we talked about with Citizens United versus FEC, they all talk about, the court said that, corporations are people and this, and it puts unlimited money into politics and this. That's not what this case was ruled about. You have to go read the case. And I've seen professors and I've seen groups from law libraries and law schools make their assessments, and then I go read it, and I'm like, you're so far off base. So these are your rights. If you're going to accept somebody else's interpretation of your rights, then go ahead.
Then you're surrendering it to that person then.
But the court says things in very plain English.
Yes.
They make it plain English, and they tell you they make it plain English. So go read the case.
You can
go
read
download
it
the PDF and read the case. Most of these opinions are only maybe a few pages to 20 pages. It's when you get into the Fifth Amendment, not the Fifth, but the Second Amendment, where you start running into these really long decisions because they don't, the court probably, what part of this don't people understand?
When you start reading it, I did notice in the, what was it, the 106? Yeah, but it was like on page 120 something, I believe, of the opinion of Kennedy opinions. He literally repeated himself
from multiple times.
Yeah, the first 3 paragraphs he had kind of bounced back in. It's kind of one of those old college tricks I remember doing when it's okay, if I change up the sentence structure a little bit and I mix up the words just right,
and say it again.
It's the same thing, but it's different.
But
he did that, so it's prolonged. You're gonna get they're very repetitive.
But the good thing about it is when you read this and you just have your mind focused on this, you now know what the court has said. Remember, they're on top of it all. So these are your rights.
Now, you did tell me as well, and I have been doing this, especially I did this with the Second Amendment when you had told me about it. I was like, oh, I didn't know this, because you can do it on Safari, I believe. You can do it on Firefox. You can do it on Chrome. If you have that, you can do it on DuckDuckGo. You can do it on Brave. So whenever you download a PDF of one of these cases, I did not know this. I'm just learning every day. I'm telling you, it makes me so humble. But you can go on there and you can do a specific sentence or word search of just that document.
Yes.
So I was able to type in a few words just separated by commas or a sentence structure, kind of vague enough, and it was able to pinpoint me into different sections and paragraphs of the opinions themselves. And it really helped get in there and read the actual really informative stuff that you want to know. It's not buried. So that does help. You have that available to you on a lot of the different platforms. Please use it. Please.
Yes. So read the actual case.
The actual PDF case.
Now look, you'll see dissenting opinions sometimes unless the court is unanimous in their decision. You don't really need to read the dissenting opinions unless you really are just curious. And the reason being is dissenting opinions mean nothing. As far as the law goes, you can't even cite them in a court case.
Yeah, it gets rejected, doesn't it?
Yeah, it literally has no bearing on any of it. So it'll just tell you the mindset of these judges. It'll tell you who's voting the way you think they should be voting, so you know which Supreme Court justices have a more such and such leaning opinion versus another such and such leaning opinion, because they're all human beings at the end of the day. I'm not saying any one is wrong or right. All I'm saying is whatever the Constitution says, that's what needs to be followed.
It just made me think there for a second whenever you said that it's kind of like one of those real world emotional recaps of the judge. It's their little opportunity to say, okay, this is how I really feel.
This is how I really feel.
Even though it can't be cited in court, it can't be used in any dissenting opinions, it can't be used at all.
Yeah, it doesn't mean
But
anything.
I just want to get this off my chest and rant for a second. This is how I really feel.
That's pretty much what it is. And the people that follow these
Supreme
justices and support them and believe what they say, they can say, see, they tried to do what they're doing. Whatever. It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't have validity. That's the hang up.
Yeah.
You can say it all you want, but it does not have the court's validity.
No
it doesn't
validity.
have it. There's no backing.
Yep.
So what were the cases? Because these are the current cases. What's the other one? So we have two.
So then we have another case, and this is Canidlia versus Strom. Now, for all you
at all, because I had to ask you.
At all means
I was like, what is
everybody.
Because is that Latin?
It's a lot of the legal terminology is Latin. At all means everybody included in the suit. That's all it means.
Okay.
So you'll see it all the time.
Well, now I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of Latin that's still used in the court system. If you spend time working in the legal system, get yourself a Black's Law dictionary.
Get a what?
A Black's Law Dictionary.
Oh.
So,
I wonder if that's something I can come across at like a garage sale, just for the heck of it.
well, it gets updated, so you kind of want something. I don't know. I don't know how.
It's one of
recent
those you got to
yeah.
kind of stay on top of.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean, I
so
think
what
mine's
is
about 10 years old now.
what is that again? Because I keep wanting to say Caligula, and I know
So
that's
it's
not it.
Caniglia versus Strom
Canigula.
et al. So
Canigula,
what is this
okay.
case about? So what this case is about is husband and wife having an argument, and my chair keeps going down. So we're gonna put my chair back up. Husband and wife have an argument. Whoever's been married or is married,
Okay.
husband and wives have arguments all the time.
Yeah.
Husband got really frustrated, had a pistol, put it on the kitchen table, and told his wife, "Why don't you just shoot me and get it over with?" Now, he did not wave it at her. He did not threaten her with it.
Oh, he put it on the table.
He put it on the table.
Okay.
And told her to use it on him.
Okay.
She left, notified the police. Police came into the home without a warrant and seized his weapons.
Okay, there it is, right there. No warrant.
Now, the last case we talked about just a minute ago, about 3 pages, right?
Yeah.
This isn't even a page and a half.
Oh.
Okay? So the opinion of the court
It's not
even a page and a half.
I love
I
it when you
believe this
bring
was a
these cases
unanimous
to me.
decision. Yes, this is a unanimous decision. So this case was argued on March the 24th, 2021. And it was decided on May 17th, 2021. So this is one of those fast cases.
Oh, wow. I love it whenever you said, just leave the case research to me this episode, Amanda. I got this. So this really is a mystery for me, y'all. This is, wow.
So this is a real quick case.
Page and a quarter.
So now a page and a quarter, and remember, there's the title up at the top, and there's all this stuff,
okay.
and it came from the...
Because it says location, it says who's in it.
Yeah, so this came from the
header.
First Circuit.
Okay.
So basically they had an argument, and...
The husband and wife.
Yeah, the husband and wife. So this is the decision. This is what the court held. And understand, this like I said, it says page 2, but literally, if you took all the fluff out of it, it would be half a page. But
it really is. It really is. I know I'm peeking and I'm cheating here, but it really is. I'm not kidding. It's very tiny. So for all y'all just listening, it's itty bitty.
Itty bitty. So for some reason we can make these and people understand, but we can't make the Second Amendment. But anyway, so here it says. So this is what the court held, and remember, unanimous. Neither the holding nor logic of Cody justify such warrantless searches and seizures in the home. Cody held that a warrantless search of an impounding vehicle for an unsecured firearm did not violate the Fourth Amendment. In reaching this conclusion, the court noted that the officers who patrol the public highways are often called to discharge non-criminal community caretaking functions, such as responding to disabled vehicles. But searches of vehicles and home are constitutionally different, as the Cody opinion repeatedly stressed. So the government tried to use a case called Cody. A lot of people use it. I think we actually mentioned it. And here's the deal. The court's like, look, that was a vehicle. This is a home.
This is
totally different.
Different.
And this is what they said. The very core of the Fourth Amendment guarantee is the right of a person to retreat into his or her home and there be free from unreasonable government intrusion. And they list a case, Florida versus Jardins. A recognition of the existence of community caretaking tasks like rendering aid to motorists and disabled vehicles is not an open-ended license to perform that anywhere.
No, because you're only covered to just perform the Emergency Act, not search a vehicle once the Emergency Act finishes. So, like, you get in a car accident, the officer or whoever needs to pull you from the vehicle to help maintain your life, right? They can't then just, let me just see what they might have in here.
Yeah, no. Doesn't work that way.
That is not covered, not allowed.
There's a case out there talking about plain view. I think we might talk about that one when we get to, I think, the 5th. But here's the thing. These are brand new cases. These are brand new cases that happened this year. So if an officer shoots somebody, you are then restraining them. Plain and simple. Court doesn't want to hear all the other.
That bullet, think of it this way. That bullet that they had then shot, even the taser darts and what, I don't know the lingo for those.
Tasers,
but even those.
All those.
That is the property of that police department, correct?
Yeah.
So if they were to shoot me, their property is now inside of me.
They're restraining you.
I'm restrained.
Yep.
So if that kind of helps anyone who might be curious and hung up on that.
So here we go. Here's a case where the police went in, and, this goes back to these stupid red flag laws, as far as I'm concerned. And it says, you cannot do this. You cannot use a vehicle as the same inference as a house. And they made it very clear. I mean, I could just read it. It's very simple.
It's very short. Yeah, please do if you don't mind.
A recognition of existence of community caretaking tasks like rendering aid to a motorist in a disabled vehicle is not an open-ended license to perform them anywhere. So they can't just, we're going to caretake in your house and search your home and take what belongs to you because, you might be a danger to... He didn't threaten anybody. He didn't point the gun at anybody. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was having an argument with his spouse, and he put it on the table and said, why don't you just shoot me and get it over with? Okay? Not for nothing, but, I mean, you've been in relationships before. I've been in relationships before. Trust me.
I'm just going to say, and I'll throw this out there, I'm a Libra. So anybody who knows, we're the balancing scales here. I'm totally a referee. There are two sides to every story. When I hear he put his gun down on the table and said, go ahead and get it over and done with. What other arguments had they had that had gotten to a point of that escalation where he basically was telling her, just go ahead and kill me?
Really? True, right?
I mean, I'm just curious. Like, I know that there's not more information because it is kind of tied up in the courts and you have to seriously probably dig. I have not digged.
I'd have to go read the facts of the original case.
Honestly, I have enough stresses on my life. Right. I don't really want to go listen to a domestic dispute. I'm glad, though, that with this case, this is why I will read it and while I will research it, because it made it as far to our Supreme Court to affirm my rights, your rights, all of our rights.
All of our rights.
So that's why this case, I still want people to go and read it. And honestly, I'm going to be straight with you guys. When you showed it to me, you guys could read this in the bathroom, sitting there for a second if you got 2 minutes. We all know everyone takes their phones in there with them. So sit there for a second, look up this case, and read it.
Yep.
It's a quick read. It's a fast one.
It's a very quick read. You can read further opinions by the judges and why they came to that ruling and all that if you really want to. I mean, people that are legal scholars or people that have time on their hands, they're sometimes interesting to read. But this is literally... I mean,
let this be your gateway case.
If you take out the title, if you took out the title and took out the synopsis, it's literally half a page.
Half a page. Come on, guys. Half a page. This will be your gateway drug into reading Supreme Court cases and being interested in the things that affect our rights. Let this be the first one that hooks you and makes you want to read more of them, because some of them can actually be quite interesting.
Yes, they are quite. I mean, when you start getting into it, you start
heated a little.
Yeah, they actually do. It's funny to read some of the opinions from the judges, especially even when they're affirming the decision. One judge will say, "Well, I'm voting, affirming this decision based upon this fact," and then another judge says, "Well, I'm affirming, but I'm not basing it upon what Judge so and so said. I'm basing it upon such and such." So you get to see the mindset sometimes of the judges. Even when they're all agreeing, they can disagree on where they come to that conclusion.
Am I the only one that really wishes, I'm just saying, I'm just a little old housewife, basically, I guess you could say. Am I the only one that would totally watch a Real Housewives Supreme Court judges or something? Do they have little tantrums and tiffs behind the scenes with each other? Or are they all just so corrupt that they're like, okay, this week you have to be the one that looks really good and affirmative, but this week, how was the corruption? How does it play in? What's the behind the scenes?
Well, I mean, we all know what happened in November.
Paid off?
We
Who's
all
bought?
We all know what happened in November, and Chief Justice, I think it's Roberts. Supposedly, there was some screaming and yelling and discourse taking place when certain cases pertaining to what happened in November reached and were filed with the Supreme Court, and there were some supposedly heated discussions. So they're human beings just like anybody else.
They're
not perfect.
I only like it. I don't like fighting. I don't like anger and things like that. I like discussion and honest debate and discourse used for a goal of clarification and equal justice for all, basically. That's what I like. So if it gets them to the point where they literally feel like they need to stand firm on what they feel their passion and his truth is,
they do it. They do it. Whether
Good.
and they have the privilege of writing an opinion, whether they're voting to affirm something or disagreeing with something. So there's times where judges they'll in their arguments disagree with each other, even though they're both on the same side. But it's okay. As long as they come to the right conclusion.
Right. That's my thing. If it's the right conclusion, once I read through that, if I have time, I'll go through and read it, because some of them, it is nice to know. It is good to have that kind of insight. Like, why did they off the wall out of nowhere when in election times, or not even election times because they're appointed, but there's still election between there, right? You hear them saying certain things that they would agree this way or they might agree that way if ever they were to be considered. But then whenever they're put up and they're vetted, then it's like, no, I would never. I can never say anything on how I would, decide to go which way or that way on a case, which is what you expect them to say.
Yes.
Like, you should stay neutral until you have the stuff presented before you.
And we're human, and we're people. They're citizens of the United States, just like you and I are. We have a right to an opinion.
Yeah.
And then when it comes, if we're being considered for a position, we say, look, that was my opinion.
Everyone has them.
Everybody has an opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. But if I was sitting as a judge, I have to look at the facts.
Yes, and I like that, and I respect that. But I also like that when I do have time, I will read their personal little opinion, whether agreeing or disagreeing. I will read it because I still want to understand where this person's mindset is. You need to understand, these are people of massive power and influence. Their money is spread out through a lot of different pockets. They have a lot of insight. Their networking that's not even known on their LinkedIn is so much deeper than what any of us could possibly imagine. So I would like to have that little bit of insight on what they're really thinking, especially with the cases to come.
So I don't know, do we want to open it up in case people want to call in? I mean, if someone wants to call in and we'll patch you through if you wish to.
I need to pull up the number. I thought it was right in front of us at one point in time
or something. So let's see. Next week we're going to be talking about the 5th, right? Yeah.
Yes, we're going to be covering the 5th.
That'll be fun. There's a lot with the 5th.
What was it that we were just discussing the other day? So we do so much deep diving whenever we're covering kind of the cases and the things that I research. And you had mentioned with the Third Amendment, when I had asked you, how was this ever actually been done? You had told me with the Revolutionary War, them fighting. And I literally was like, so they actually had redcoats.
Yes.
Like right there. Yes. Maybe in their dining room on a cot or just a hay pad on the floor or something.
It was usually more like, oh, you get to leave the house and we get to take your house. Have a nice day.
Well, I knew that,
more than that. I mean, you had all these, just you get to go sleep out in the barn with the
I knew all of that. It was just more so, I guess, more of a striking reality of like, oh my God. Could you guys imagine that right now with different things that are coming up and have been suggested? I'm going to say that, alleged and suggested.
Well, it's
a little eerie.
Well, let's talk about
it makes us a little more prevalent.
Yeah, well, let's talk about things like mandates, which are not law. Let's talk
Well, they're not, right? I looked that up because you were like, Amanda, no.
They're not law.
It's not actually a legit law.
No.
It's more like a firm suggestion.
Yes. That's basically what it is. But they use the words mandate, or they
very
use the
loosely
words
now.
Requirement, or they use the words, think of some more of the words they've been trying to use, and people comply. So they accomplish what they're trying to do, because here's the thing. The governor cannot make a law without legislatures first sending the law to him. Our legislatures make the laws, not the governors, not the president. President Joe Biden, King
They
Joe
can
Biden.
say whatever they want.
He can say whatever he wants.
That's the First Amendment.
He could say, oh,
say whatever
you
he
have
wants.
more than 100 employees, you must do this. Okay, first of all, OSHA can't make a rule without the legislatures approving it.
Because it is a federally funded organization. That means they are tied up and obligated by the same laws that structure all the rest of the federals. The same as the legislators, all of them.
Now, here's the other kicker. At no time in OSHA's existence have they ever had in their charter or in their law, when they were approved and all these type of things, that vaccines were part of something that they were involved with. With that said, what did the CDC come out and say? Oh, we're going to moratorium. You can't kick out your tenants and they don't have to pay rent. And then the court came out twice and said, you cannot do this.
You can't.
And one of the things they referenced was the CDC was not established for this purpose, and at no time have they ever did this. So the same thing with OSHA. At no time has OSHA ever mandated anything like this. And in order to change something that is outside of the privy of how they were established, the legislature would have to pass a law.
They'd have to do it.
And then the president would have to sign it. And, of course, it would immediately be challenged.
Through the challenge.
So all these companies that are, oh, my God, people have to get, do this. And, oh, my God, we have to do this. And the governor of Cuckoo State next door talking about, all kids above the age of such and such. These aren't laws. They can't make you do any of these things.
Okay, so then for the people that might be questioning, what power then do they have on some of those flyers or tickets or fines or things like that? If it's not a law for any of our viewers or listeners,
fight them
who've gotten threats.
What
do they do?
So you fight it. You go into court. I want a jury trial.
Oh, you're just allowed to request that.
I want you to prove that I violated a law. Explain what law I violated.
Now, this is something they could
now
just
they say, well, emergency order by the governor. No, doesn't work. If you want to know what the governor of this state, Nevada, privilege under the Emergency Act was, go read the Nevada Constitution and actually read the emergency powers.
It's right there, everyone.
He's only allowed to use the resources that he already has at his disposal for his actions. Period. That's it. That's in it. That's in a nutshell. What was it that
they had claimed in the local Clark County News? I thought they had claimed like special emergency privileges.
No such thing.
They had said it something in the news hinting out, and that's part of them, as we had stated before, changing the dialogue, changing the lingo, as if using the word mandate. It gives it more of an authoritarian. It gives it more of an official sound. It's meant to incite fear.
Yes.
That's what it's intended for, everyone. It's intended to incite fear because when you're fearful, you'll hesitate. Mm-hmm. And just enough time to get you to hesitate will get you to abide by it.
So give you an idea. Give you an example. So right now I heard that if you're a vet, I'm one, you use VA services, you must get vaccinated. Where is this law in place? Where is it? Some memo that some person sent to the VA saying, well, you must do this now?
I haven't.
That is not a law. It would be the same. It would be the same as saying that your car can no longer have yellow turn signals. And they send you a memo, the DMV sends you a memo that says, change your turn signals to red.
Not happening.
Okay? That's the same. Not a law. If you think about it for a minute, that's the same lunacy. Mm-hmm. It literally is.
The analogy is, yes, it is. And when you go to look it up, it hasn't gone through. It has not gone through the legislature. Nope. It hasn't gone up and been approved by the alleged presidency. Nope. It hasn't gone, it's not legit.
Yeah.
It is a fear. It is a tactic and an attack to incite fear.
Yep.
But that stems to before. Why would you incite fear like that? What's your purpose?
What's your end game?
What's your end game? What's your purpose of that?
The end game is to take and have you comply. And as I've said over and over and over, do not comply. You don't need to comply. There's a case, we'll talk about it next week. Any law that is written that is inherently against the Constitution, on its face is void the day it's written. It means nothing.
It can't even pass forward. It can't.
It means nothing. So,
and it's not even something where it's like a hesitation on them or playing party politics, like, oh, I don't want it, but you want it. No, it can't even be presented to them.
Yeah.
Because of the writing itself.
Yeah.
It can't.
So you think about it. The governor made these mandates. What is he, the king?
Oh, he's a governor, though. He's a governor. Y'all can't see me shaking my head.
The person that's supposedly occupying the White House, he says, well, we're going to do this. We're going to fine you $70,000. I challenge anybody.
With what? The FBI? The DOJ? Who are you going to send after me?
But there's nothing in writing.
Exactly. That's the thing. There's no structure. There's no law. There's no agency put behind it to be able to enact or enforce those laws.
And OSHA can't write a law on its own. It has to be approved by the state legislature. So OSHA's like, we can't do anything. And you know what? His press secretary admitted to this.
Oh, good.
At one of those. First of all, I used to watch every single press conference. I just can't do it anymore because it's a circus. It's a zoo.
I love watching her eyes get really big, though.
It's just
that's kind of fun.
Considering the last one we had before,
she just walks out
with our previous number 45. She was awesome. Oh my God.
Oh, McKinney.
McEnany.
Yeah. McEnany. I love her. She's so adorable. Isn't she over? What is she on now? Fox?
I think she might. No, she might be on Newsmax. I thought.
Don't quote us. If someone knows, hit us up on our YouTube channel, please, or the BitChute, The Uncomfortable Truth, all one word. Hit us up.
You can go look up the word mandate. You know who makes mandates? The courts. That's who makes mandates.
Not governors.
Last time I checked, the governor and
not mayors,
and then the mayors and city council members.
Oh, we're speaking to you, Miss Lightfoot,
and the person occupying the White House. You're not the courts.
You can suggest.
You can make so basically
suggest all you want.
You can advise.
You can advise.
Yeah, the CDC has no authority to order anything. Neither does the FDA.
Nope.
The FDA and the CDC have no authority to order anything upon you. They regulate what their fields are. So the FDA regulates drugs before they come on the market. The CDC says, hey, we got this problem over here. We're monitoring it. Hey, we just want to let you know. They don't get to order a damn thing.
And for anyone who's saying, oh, yes, they do. The FDA does get to order on who's old enough to drink alcohol or buy tobacco. That is because there was a law written by the legislators that went up through and was approved by the presidency at the time that makes it illegal by a certain age limit. So I just want to go ahead and make sure I squash that.
So when they make a law, they can designate a function of an agency within the government that falls within their scope to then enforce that action.
Yes.
So I'll give you an example. We pass a law pertaining to, like you said, we pass a law pertaining to smoking, children smoking. Then we can say, okay, you can regulate this field because this is what you do.
Yes.
But they don't get to make up their own.
They didn't come out with that on their own.
They're not elected. Non-elected, well, of course, we don't know if everybody's actually elected, but non-elected individuals and organizations within the government do not make laws.
They're not allowed to. Only the people elected by the people can write the laws to mandate or govern the people.
So, all this stuff they've been doing, it has about the same authority and weight as your toilet paper.
Pretty much, especially during that beginning of the crisis, everyone's quality went real down on that. So basically been that quality continuously.
Oh, on and on and on.
It's getting worse.
We have a, did you say we have a call?
Do we have a call in there?
Oh, we have 1 minute.
Oh, I got all excited there for a second thinking we have a call in. I'm going to get the number put up right up in here. I know we had said before that we're going to do the call-ins, but it seems like we kind of get tied up when we get into it. I'm going to make sure that for next week's episode, I literally write in a section into our timeline.
Everybody who wants to call in, so here's the deal. So next week on Wednesday when we do our show, Amanda is going to set up a section for you to call in.
Yes.
And you can talk about anything that we've talked about, including next week's episode. And we'll be more than happy to answer whatever questions you have. And here's the thing. If we don't know the answer, we'll just say we don't know.
We'll be honest. I will be straight up with you.
So homework.
But we will do what we can to get back to you with that answer.
So homework, read the Fifth Amendment, understand the Fifth Amendment, and also go look up what a mandate is. Go look up what Nevada's Constitution says about emergency orders. Go look up what our legislature has written about the rules and laws about emergency orders, and read that the governor really didn't have authority to do anything he did.
And what he did do does not have government backing authority.
Nope.
Okay. So there's your homework, Fifth Amendment. I feel bad giving people homework, but
it's fun
when you have a moment, this is fun homework, and it really impacts you all. It's really important to know.
It's very important.
Fifth Amendment,
if you don't know your
mandate.
Rights.
What's it mean? Nevada Constitution. There you go. Look those up when you have a moment, and please come back next Wednesday, 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. right here, 98.1 FM Pahrump Freedom Radio, and we will see you then. I'm excited. I'm always excited.
And to all veterans and law enforcement, thank you for your service.
Much appreciated. Remember that oath y'all took.